with us. I don't know what it's like where you are, but it's sleeting and really cold here. So I hope you've got your heaters on and you're nice and cosy for this session over lunchtime. I'd like to give a really warm welcome to the HS2 team with us today. Thank you to Robin and Anthony from HS2 and also to Craig, who has joined us as an SME supplier to HS2. Thanks to all three of you for giving up your time. I'm quite sure, like all of us, you've got really busy diaries. I'm very much looking forward to this event and hearing about all the HS2 opportunities, particularly for Scottish businesses. Excuse me, so I'll keep my bit as short as possible. I'm Shona Clive, for those of you who don't know me. I'm project lead for the Rail Cluster project, working with the team here at Scottish Engineering. We work with Scottish Enterprise and Transport Scotland, and I've been working on the Rail Cluster project since last August, so about 18 months now. And what a journey it's been. I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a minute. I'm also Vice Chair of the overall Women in Rail organisation, and previously I was Chair of the regional group in Scotland, and I'm also a member of Women in Transport. So diversity and inclusion is really important to me. Just a little bit about the Rail Cluster in case you haven't heard about it before. As I said, we started last August. It's a project funded by Scottish Enterprise and the European Regional Development Fund. We're also directly supported by Transport Scotland. We've several aims, but in a nutshell, we're really here to connect SMEs who are looking to diversify into the rail sector or to expand their existing businesses in the rail sector further. And we do this by connecting them in with the rail sector supply chain. So businesses like Network Rail, ScotRail, Tier 1s, rolling stock manufacturers, rail freight, and the wider supply chain. Our other key aim is to raise awareness of opportunities across the Scottish rail sector and beyond, which is why today we're covering HS2. The context of the Rail Cluster project is Transport Scotland's Rail Decarbonisation Action Plan, issued last July, which aims to deliver net zero passenger services by 2035. Back to the journey we've been on with the Rail Cluster project. From scratch, we've set up a community of nearly 900 individuals, 500 businesses and 230 SMEs. The SMEs come from a variety of different backgrounds, such as marine, oil and gas, renewables, aerospace, automotive, and many more. If you've ever wondered what a cluster was and why it exists, I think this quote is a pretty good summary. It's by Lord Sainsbury in a McKinsey report called The Industrial Revolution. Much has been said in recent years about the importance of clusters, complex, economically significant ecosystems in which people can meet, exchange ideas, develop innovations, and create businesses together. Clusters are regarded as exciting, vibrant places where something in the air draws world-class talent and delivers fresh products and innovations to the marketplace. So that's why we do what we do in the Rail Cluster project. We've delivered over 620 hours of one-to-one support for our SMEs. We've run 13 informative events. This will be our 14th. And we've shared 4 technical and market reports, which you can find on our website, scottishengineering.org.uk/Rail Cluster. The 5th report is due for issue before the festive break and will contain lots of information about HS2. So it ties in nicely with this event today. We were part of the highly successful 3-day event during COP26 at Moss End International Freight Park called Low Carbon Logistics, and we've connected 19 SMEs into the rail sector directly. It's been a great journey and we know there's still much to do. So we expect the Rail Cluster to continue and we're holding conversations right now about how that might happen. Enough from me now and over to the HS2 team, Robin and Anthony from HS2. Robin is a senior supply chain manager and responsible for delivering market and supply chain engagement across the HS2 project with a specific focus on HS2 rolling stock and railway systems programmes. Anthony is also supply chain manager and responsible for leading supply chain management for HS2 main works and early work contractors. So if ever there was a time to ask about HS2, it's today and now. We're also delighted, as I said before, to welcome Craig Michel from Zappshelter. Craig's business is a Scottish SME, and he's going to talk to you about his journey and work on the HS2 project. And finally, you'll be glad to know a tiny bit of housekeeping. As I said before, we're recording the event, so if you could keep your cameras off and your mics muted, we'd be really happy. Please use the chat facility to post any questions you might have, and we'll cover them at the end of the session. And that's it from me, so thank you very much, and I'll hand over to Anthony.
Thank you very much, Shona. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. It is really appreciated, and a special thank you to Shona and Sarah for inviting us to support today's event. As Shona mentioned, my name's Antony Steele. I'm part of the supply chain here at HS2, and I'm primarily responsible for managing the relationship with the main works teams. And I'll be taking you through part of today's session alongside my colleague Robin before we close with Craig. So I'll just quickly hand over now to Robin and then to Craig to introduce themselves before we begin.
Thanks, Anthony. Good afternoon, everyone. Robin Lapish, Senior Supply Chain Manager for HS2, as Shona and Anthony have explained. I've been working on this project now for the last 7 years. So I've got a real broad understanding of what we're here to deliver and how we can work with companies like yourselves in delivering this huge national endeavour. So I look forward to speaking with you a little bit later and taking your questions at the end. Over to you, Craig.
Good morning. Thanks, Robin. Thanks, Anthony. And thank you, Shona, for inviting me to join this event. I'm Craig Michel. I'm the founder and managing director of Zappshelter. In a moment, I'll tell you about what we do. But let me start by just telling you a little bit about how our business sits in the SME space. We happen to be one of the companies that make up 99.6% of the total businesses in the UK. That's a staggering statistic. 99.6% of the businesses across the UK are SMEs. Just take a moment to digest that. I really wanted you to know that, because if our little business can get involved in projects like HS2 and other big infrastructure projects, then so can yours. If we can do it, so can you. Zappshelter is a small family business I started from scratch just a few years ago. I've been in the business world for a long time now, but this is my latest adventure, and it's been going extremely well. And I believe that our success has been the result of doing the right things well enough and often enough. Often with these big projects, there's a need for sticking at something until you get some results, and that's what we found, particularly with HS2. And to top it off, of course, we're in Scotland, which is why we're on the event today. But we're in a rural area that's so remote that we don't even have fibre broadband or mains drainage. I'll draw the line at telling you that we have wild haggis grazing on the nearby hills, but we're definitely in a remote area of the country. And Scotland is, as we know, is very well connected to the rest of the UK now. And may I add, long may that continue. Excellent road networks, excellent rail networks, fantastic airports. And of course, the internet has changed the world of business beyond recognition anyway. And it's leveled the playing field up to a certain extent for SMEs in locations that were once deemed to be inaccessible. So, what is Zappshelter? And we'll show some brief slides just now, not to bore you to death, but there are 3 basic human needs, which are food, clothing, and shelter. And we provide shelter on an industrial scale. As you can see, some examples of our recent projects here. Now, construction sites the world over have one common problem. No matter where they are in the world, there's one problem that's common to every construction site. And that is how to protect what matters from the devastating effects of the weather. Now, we can't control the weather, especially on days like today when it's pretty miserable, but we can mitigate the effect and the damage it causes. And by doing that, we're protecting people, we're protecting their products, and we're protecting their assets. So it could be the need for extra storage area for products or machinery, extra workshop space, welding bays, blasting bays, training areas. But of course, projects of this nature are only ever temporary, and even if they may last for years, a conventional permanent building just isn't going to work in this kind of application. So with some great British structural engineering, we've designed a system that ticks pretty much every box in helping our clients to protect what matters to them. Moving on to HS2. HS2 has been and continues to be a massive opportunity for us. If you're driving through the Midlands or through Buckinghamshire, you'll see some of our shelters that we've built for some of HS2's main contractors and subcontractors. at least one of them that's clearly visible from the side of the M25. Some of them are huge. You could have a full-scale barn dance under them. It's enabled us to, getting involved in HS2 has enabled us to employ more local people, as well as investing in those that we already employ. It's important to realize that large infrastructure projects, although they may seem inaccessible, they may seem difficult to break into, they're centrally funded. And getting involved means that that's putting funding back into the pockets of our local rural communities. It's given us personally the ability to strengthen and improve our supply chain, develop and improve our product range. So for Zappshelter, just a small family business of which there's thousands across the country, working with HS2 has been great for our people. It's been great for our products, and it's been great for our reputation. Another point just to throw in as well, it's enabled us to invest in causes that are close to our hearts. We support a number of charities, community charities, and military veteran charities, food banks, that kind of thing. And just making a little bit extra profit by getting involved with projects like HS2 has meant we've been able to extend the amount of support we can offer to our own local community. So it's a win-win. And my advice to anyone wanting to get involved with HS2 is to make a start. If you haven't done until now, there's still masses to go out, still plenty to be spent. That's about it from me, Anthony. Thank you very much. Very happy to help with any questions later.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Craig. So I'm hoping you all found that kind of inspirational, and hopefully many of you can relate to that. And initially, when we put the agenda together, we were going to kind of explain a bit about HS2 before introducing Craig. But I think because we've got the Q&A session towards the end, I'm hoping that a lot of what you've spoke about, Craig, is something that the audience can relate to and can maybe kind of pick some words of wisdom from you from later on. So as always, thank you for supporting. So just quickly for today then, I'll provide a short summary of the HS2 project and cover some key milestones and also provide you an overview of the JVs that Craig mentioned there. I'll then hand over to Robin, who will talk about kind of what's next for HS2, particularly around the rolling stock and phase 2A, which is the extension of the line from Birmingham to Crewe. I'll then provide some additional information and areas of importance to HS2 about SMEs, innovation and carbon, which kind of ties into what Shona said at the start. And then, as we've said, we do have the Q&A session. So please, as we go through today, if there's something we talk about that you want more detail or something that kind of perks your interest, please post those questions, because the biggest benefit of being here today is not listening to Robin and Craig and I talk. It's talking to you and answering your questions and concerns. Okay, so let's have a look at the progress report, what we've done today on HS2. Okay, so a massive project and a number of milestones. So if we go back a year, the Prime Minister visited Birmingham Interchange Station to effectively formally announce the start of HS2. Now, it may seem like a long time ago, but I've been on the project since 2016, and as Robert mentioned, he's been on slightly longer than that. So from our side, we've seen a huge amount of works being undertaken already, particularly in the enabling works environment. A lot of clearing the way, a lot of demolition to buildings, a lot of economical mitigation, ground engineering, ground investigations. And I think, you know, as Craig alluded to, if you drive down the route of HS2, the amount of work that's visible from the public highways and byways now just kind of confirms that phase 1 delivery is well underway. Over 2,200 businesses from all parts of the United Kingdom have already delivered work for us. 97% of those companies are UK based. Certain things we can't get from the UK, such as our TBMs, which I will talk about in a bit later. 70% of all those businesses so far are SMEs. And if you look into the wider supply chain, you know, we are seeing significantly more SMEs engaged than that statistic kind of tells. In terms of kind of value, so we've let £18 billion worth of contracts to date. And with the award of the rolling stock contract and other interchange station over the next 18 months, that will rise to 25 billion. And this continues to flow into the wider supply chain, both through our tier 1s, our tier 2s and our tier 3s. So talking about phase 2A. So phase 2A is all about extending the high-speed line from Birmingham to Crewe, a distance of 36 miles. So the hybrid bill passed its royal assent back in February of this year, and that paved the way for construction activity to begin. So ground investigations, that's already ongoing, and the major construction work starts in just over 2 years' time in 2024. The phase 2B, which takes the high-speed route from Crewe to Manchester and to the northwest. So as instructed by the government, the hybrid bill to extend this route gets deposited into Parliament next year. And it's worth reminding everybody on the call today that those high-speed trains don't stop at Manchester. The rolling stock that we purchased for the High-Speed 2 contract will continue up the route. So let's look at a couple of key milestones. One of my absolute favourites is the TBMs, and I'll talk about those in a bit of detail as we go through. But as things stand today, we've got over 300 active construction sites between Birmingham and London, and these pictures show a sample of some of them. So I'll start with the top left. So our tunnel boring machines, and the first two started their journey at the start of the year under the Chilterns, and only last Friday, the Midlands TBM, which is just based in North Warwickshire, started its journey. There's a second TBM to come in the Midlands, and then there's a further 5 to 7 TBMs to be launched in central London. So a huge amount of activity underground. To the right-hand side, top right, that's one of our logistics hubs. And one of the challenges and one of our strategic goals within HS2 is to reduce carbon, reduce traffic movements. So as much material as we can is moved by rail freight. Now, for a statistic, our second railhead at Calvert opened during the summer, and that's expected to take the equivalent of 24,000 lorries off the road every 60 days. So a massive benefit to the local communities. To the bottom left-hand side, you see Andrew Stevenson, the HS2 minister there at our Old Oak Common site. And that's the most progressed of our stations, as the main works has already begun. And in May, we awarded the design and build contract to Maestregardos Curzon Street, which is the station in my background. And Maestregardos are also delivering our Euston station. And preparatory work has already started at the last station, which is Interchange near the NEC in Birmingham. And this will mark the final construction contract of phase 1. Now, Robin will talk in a bit more detail about the rail systems, which is indicated in the bottom right. But I'll talk a little bit now about the JVs that are delivering the work for HS2. So who are the key contractors, and what is the scope of work within their sections? So on the slide here are 6 individual joint ventures that are delivering the works for our main works and station categories. Now, all of their contact details can be found on our contract opportunity table, which Robin will talk about in some detail. But I'll provide you a little overview now of who they are and the work they're undertaking to give you some context. So we'll start with main works, and we'll start in the north with Balfour Beatty Vinci, who are delivering the works between Staffordshire and North Warwickshire. Now, this section is the largest by all of the main works sections. And by the time Balfour Beatty hit their peak in 2023, over 9,000 workers will be employed on that project. They have 42 viaducts, totaling 11 kilometres, some of which go over the top of the M42 and the M6 and some challenging congested infrastructure, 66 under and over bridges, 30 kilometres of cuttings, and 2 of the TBMs of the 9 in total that are employed on HS2. As we move down from BBV and North Warwickshire, we move to EKFB. Now, EKFB is Effiage, Kia, Ferrovial and BAM. And they are responsible for delivering the main works between North Warwickshire and to the Chiltern Tunnel North Portal. Now, that's an 80-kilometre stretch, predominantly of earthworks, where they have an estimated 30 million cubic metres of material to excavate. Rather than TBMs and tunnels such as the other joint ventures, EKFB have 7 kilometres of green cut and cover tunnels, 15 viaducts, 81 bridges, and 22 kilometres of new roads and road diversions. EKFB hand over to the Aligned joint venture for the Chiltern tunnels, and the Aligned joint venture is Bouygues, Sir Robert McAlpine and Volker Fitzpatrick. So they are delivering 22 kilometres of high-speed railway, which is broken up in predominantly 16 kilometres of dual-board tunnels for the Chiltern Hills and a 3.5 kilometre iconic Cone Valley Viaduct. They then hand over to SCS, which is Skanska, Costain and Strabag, who are predominantly delivering tunnels. So they have a 23-kilometre section of railway to build, of which 21 kilometres are tunnels. And quite an impressive statistic. They will operate 7 TBMs for their project, 5 of which will operate simultaneously. And to give you some context on that, the whole Crossrail project only had 8 TBMs. So as we move into our stations contractors, first of all, Maestro Gardos have secured contracts for the 2 terminus stations at Euston and Birmingham Curzon Street. Balfour Beatty Vinci are delivering the Old Oak Common Station, which links to the Great Western Route and the Elizabeth Line. And these organisations on the screen are the ones that are directly delivering the work and will advertise their opportunities both on Compete For and have their direct supply chain advertise their opportunities on Compete For, which we'll talk about in further detail. So I'd now like to hand over to Robin.
Brilliant. Thank you, Anthony, and afternoon again, everyone. So what are we going to put on this amazing construction project? Because the tunnels, the viaducts, and the stations alone aren't particularly much use without the systems and the rolling stock to support. So if I may move on then, our railway systems category is of critical importance. In addition to the complex construction work, there are a number of more technical specialist elements that we are procuring currently. And here you can see the full landscape of the railway systems contracts, the majority of which are in procurement, as I say. So the invitation to tender for these core system packages, namely the track, the overhead catenary, M&E, Ops Comms, they were released back in the summer and followed up by HV Power and Signalling in September. So they're out to market now with shortlisted bidders busily preparing their submissions to submit back into HS2 early next year. These railway system packages are ultimately what will turn the construction project into a fully functional railway, and they'll be critical in supporting the seamless, dependable, and people-focused experience that HS2 must achieve for decades to come. And together, these systems will underpin the success of the operational railway, one that will run up to 18 trains per hour per direction at speeds of up to 360 kilometers per hour. We've released contact details for each of our bidders on our website, so please do check out our contract opportunities table and you'll be able to see details there. We'll explain a little bit more about that in a second. The tier 1 bidders will be able to confirm the exact scope of work of each of the packages, their particular strategies, and the areas, of course, in which the supply chain can help them with. And our message really is that it's really worth getting involved with these bidders as soon as possible to influence and support their bid and position yourself in a favourable position to win work once into contract. It's also worth highlighting that there is further information on the scope of these packages on our website. Simply search HS2 Railway Systems and you'll be directed to the right page on the hs2.org.uk website. In addition, last month we released the technical specifications for each of these packages as well, so you can really get under the skin of the technical requirements and see exactly what the bidders are seeing in terms of the WI3000s works information, which covers the technical scope of each of these core packages. So just to run through in a bit more detail, if I may now, given we have the time today. So track, working left to right then, consists of 4 geographical delivery contracts covering the design, construction and testing commissioning for all plain line tracks, switches and crossings, rail expansion devices, track drainage and primary cable containment, including the infrastructure maintenance depots at Calvert and Stone. Certain procurements have been progressed by HS2 in support of these track system delivery, whereby we are procuring some supply contracts to assist. So, for instance, we've already let a contract for the supply of the slab track units themselves. There'll be some 90,000 concrete slab track units manufactured at a new factory in Somerset by a joint venture of POR and Aggregate Industries. We're also bringing forward a contract for the switches and crossing supply, and we're currently working alongside Network Rail in developing a strategy for the supply of the actual steel rail itself as well. Overhead catenary system. This is, of course, the overhead line equipment to supply the trains with traction power. And this contract covers the design, manufacture, installation, testing, commissioning as well, covering both phase 1 and phase 2A. So this is a route-wide contract. Unlike track, which is split up into geographical sections, the overhead catenary and many other systems packages are route-wide, covering both phase 1 and 2A, so London to Crewe. We've actually procured a license for a high-speed OCS basic design range called V360 from SNCF Réseau of France, which will be mandated as part of the contract. But the tenderers do have some flexibility in terms of supply of components and specific design arrangements, as long as it can meet our performance specification. Mechanical electrical. So what does this include? This includes all of the tunnel line side equipment, so lighting, handrails, fire safety equipment and alarms, the tunnel vent system, of which we need well in advance of 1 to 200 ventilation fans, so really significant element there. Tunnel SCADA system, line side M&E and low voltage power systems as well. So a real array of components that need to be procured through the M&E package, and we expect the appointed contractor to need quite an array of supply chain support in delivering that contract. As Anthony has touched upon, we've got 9 tunnels on HS2 phase 1, totaling around 40 kilometres, both twin bore but also cut and cover tunnels as well. So hence the need for quite a lot of equipment as part of the fit out. HV power, this is the high voltage power distribution system, again a route wide package covering phase 1 and phase 2A. And again, design, manufacture, installation, testing, commissioning, and maintenance as well of the traction power system, so the line side auto transformer stations, auto transformer feeder stations, and also the HV distribution system as well. Telecoms, 2 main telecoms packages, operational telecoms, design, installation, testing, commissioning of the operational telecoms. That includes the DTN, the data transmission network, telephony system, tunnel radio system, telecoms mass, also GSMR as well, which you'll be familiar with as a railway audience, and also line of route security. And then the third party comms package is a smaller package, and that covers the passenger comms systems, including the emergency service network and data station data network as well, including Wi-Fi and public Wi-Fi. We plan to procure 2 contracts for the third-party comms, both the design and build, but also a longer-term operating partner contract as well. Signaling, this is a technically very complex piece, again, covering phase 1 and phase 2A. Design, installation, testing, commissioning with a term service arrangement covering technical support. And this is going to be ETCS level 2, grade of automation 2 for the automatic train operation, and also the traffic management system and possession management system as well included in that package. EMS, that means the engineering management system, again, design, installation, testing, commissioning with term service arrangement for technical support. And the EMS is a critical software overlay that will pull from all the individual system SCADA systems and present an integrated solution to our control center so that we can manage and control the assets of the railway. And then the final package on the screen is the depot and the control center. This is where our trains will be maintained, a purpose-built site in the east of Birmingham at Washwood Heath. And the contract will be for the design, build, testing, commissioning of the site. Really, the depot is a mini railway. It's less a civils project and more of a mini railway in its own right, actually, when you consider that it's not just the maintenance building, but it's all the track work, signalling system, control room, overhead catenary, light and heavy plant and equipment, pantograph test facilities, carriage wash, automatic visual inspections, and a whole range of other equipment as well that will be delivered as part of the depot site. So a significant array of goods, works and services will be needed right across the supply chain in support of these contracts. So where can you find out information about the bidders for these packages? Well, please do have a look at the supply chain section of our website, hs2.org.uk. You can click supply chain in the top right corner as highlighted here. And then if you scroll and you can see the direct opportunities table, worth clicking on that. You can download an Excel version of it, but also see it through the embedded table. And by way of example, if you select under category railway systems, click filter, you'll be able to scroll down and see the packages that I've talked you through just now. And importantly, if you click more, you can see the details of those bidders and also a contact detail as provided by that bidder, with the specific purpose of enabling the supply chain to get in touch with them directly. And as I say, we absolutely encourage you to do that during the bid phase for these packages, which is a great opportunity which for you, to propose your offerings and see if you can get involved in the tender exercise. So please do have a look at that. Okay, so moving on to rolling stock then. We are on the cusp of awarding the rolling stock contract. It consists of two contracts, a manufacturer supply agreement and a train services agreement. So it's both the design, delivery, testing, commissioning of the fleet, but also it's a longer term maintenance provision as well, which is a minimum of 12-year maintenance commitment. So the rolling stock will span a minimum of 22 years. Approximately in terms of its lifespan. So it's a really, really long-term strategic contract for us, and that'll be awarded to a single manufacturer. The scope of the supply is for a minimum of 54 trains to be delivered to infrastructure from about 26-27 onwards to support the testing and commissioning of the infrastructure and of course the trains themselves. Importantly, as Anthony touched on at the beginning, our trains will be able to run on the conventional network, so they will proceed off the high-speed infrastructure up the West Coast main line to service the likes of Edinburgh and Glasgow and other destinations as well. So it's really important that HS2 is integrated into the conventional network, hence why our trains will be able to run on both the high speed and the conventional network. Up to 360 kilometers per hour in operation. Quite challenging requirements around noise mitigation, energy efficiency, passenger comfort, of course, technology and innovation there, and also in terms of the reliability and the performance of the fleet as well. And that will drive solutions that, again, you as the supply chain are well placed to support that appointed manufacturer with. Each unit will be 200 meters in length. Often they'll be coupled together on the high-speed network to supply 400-meter trains up to 1,000 people on those 400-meter units. And then the way we're designing the infrastructure is very much designing the stations around the train around the stations. So providing level access from street to seat is a key part of making HS2 accessible for everyone. We want to remove the anxieties of train travel as it stands today, and really make HS2 travel pleasurable, seamless, intuitive, and a pleasure for everyone to use, irrespective of their needs. So please do look out in the press for an announcement on the rolling stock in the very near future. And then moving on, if I may, to phase 2A, which Anthony has touched on as well. So another tranche of work we're bringing forward to market at the moment. This section comprises 2 tunnels, 26 cuttings, 17 viaducts, 65 bridges over 36 miles. So it's a sizable undertaking in its own right, connecting the West Midlands to Crewe. We've got early works contractors on board, Balfour Beatty delivering a £52 million package for us to create new woodland and wetland as part of early environmental works at 82 sites. Which just goes to show the importance of ecology for HS2. And in June, we started the procurement for the design and delivery partner as well. And there'll be a client-side partner that will oversee the management and coordination of the design and construction of the infrastructure, with the ITT following this year. So contractor will be due in 2022, late summer. We've also appointed Kia to deliver enabling civil works 2 package. That's a major program of highway and utility works. And then earlier in the autumn, we issued the ITT for the advanced civil works to 6 bidders via an existing government framework. That project's set to begin back end of 2022 and will include land assembly, environmental mitigation, establishment of haul routes, site compounds, and preparing the trace of the line really to enable us to rapidly commence the start of the main civil works from summer 2024. And the procurement for the main civil works packages is due to start early next year. Okay, so that covers phase 2A. Without further ado, I'd like to hand back to Anthony to talk about SMEs and our approach to engagement with SMEs.
Right, thank you, Robin. Okay, so a key focus of HS2 really since 2013 has been maximising the SME engagement that we undertake and the number of steps that we've done over the years to improve the visibility and accessibility of our opportunities. as well as steps that we continue to make and will develop in the future. So the supply chain section of our website contains dedicated supplier guides, frequently asked question documents that can all help organisations start their HS2 journey. We also publish technical documents as well as SME case studies so that you're aware of kind of the standards and requirements to work on HS2. And we're also always looking to hear from potential suppliers and organisations and how they get involved with HS2. And not to mention the contract opportunity table mentioned by Robin, great source of information. So part of our tender evaluation and contracting requirements for all our major packages involves the use of Compete For. Now, this ensures that SMEs will be encouraged and the opportunity for them to join the HS2 family will be maximised. It ensures a fair and transparent competition is available for all the packages that we have to offer. Now, this is mandated at all our tier 1s, and many of our tier 2s are also now having this mandated within their contracts, so the opportunities continue to increase. Now, as a supply chain team and as HS2, we continue to support events like this one, as well as kind of formally and fostering relationships with local enterprise partnerships, trade associations, Chamber of Commerce, local and regional stakeholders. Basically, we want to try and improve the visibility of the work that we're doing and promote the opportunities to the widest audience possible. Now, we also run specialist events, and our flagship Meet the Contractor event, which brings together our tier 1 contractors from the previous slide, along with potential suppliers, is something we run on an annual basis. And we delivered last month 2 events, one for stations and one for main works. Now, we've been doing this event since 2017, but the last month's event was the first time that featured what we would call our tier 2s, or maybe what you would call the subcontractors. Now, these subcontractors ranged from small family-run SMEs to larger regional SMEs and bigger contractors. Now, they facilitated hundreds of one-to-one meetings and interactive breakout sessions with companies looking to win work on HS2. It effectively gave the audience the opportunity, like we've heard from today from Craig, to hear directly from people delivering the work on HS2 on how they needed to be engaged with and their opportunities. Now, all of the packages that these subcontractors talked about ranged from a few thousand to tens of thousands to a few £1 million in value. And this clearly highlighted the depth of opportunities on HS2 and dispelled many of the myths that HS2 being a mega project is beyond the reach of SMEs. Events like today, we engage directly with national and regional trade bodies and associations in order to outline exactly what HS2 has to offer. And as Robin has pointed out, there's a huge amount of information on our website that can guide you towards opportunities. An important part of the way that we manage those interactions and the opportunities with our supply chain is via Compete For. So I'll spend a bit of time talking about Compete For. So kind of Craig beat me to the punch on this one. Compete For was developed for the 2012 London Olympics, and all subcontract opportunities are advertised by our JV contractors on Compete For. Effectively, this provides a single shop window to the marketplace for HS2 opportunities. And our goal is always to maximise the visibility of these opportunities and the ease at which businesses can engage with us. We effectively give you a single source of truth and encourage you strongly to build the best and most appropriate profile you can do to be matched with those opportunities. Now, given where we are in the programme, there are still some large packages being procured that relate to earthworks, material supply, heavy engineering, etc. But there are more and more opportunities for SME and SME-friendly sized packages as more and more of our tier 2 contractors post their opportunities on Compete For, and this will only continue to grow. So as the work evolves over the next 5 years, as the stations and phase 2A teams and opportunities and subcontractors come on board, these opportunities for working on HS2 will significantly increase. And my key message for you today with Compete For is take the time to build the profile, to ensure you have all the relevant accreditation and documentation, and that you clearly indicate the type of business that you are and the goods and services you do to be matched with the opportunities from our JV contractors. So We did talk earlier on about carbon and innovation. So I've got 1 or 2 slides now to kind of show you some of the things HS2 are working on before I have a wrap-up slide, and then we can go to the Q&A. So Robin talked about the trains, and I'm back to talking about TBMs. So what you see up on the screen here is the inside of one of the TBMs that a line are using under the Chiltern tunnels. And what you can see there is something akin to an automotive robot moving one of the tunnel segments from the machine to place it. Now, traditionally, these segments were placed by hand by extremely highly skilled workforce, dealing with extremely tight margins of error and precision. Now, although these robots are very common in the automotive sector, a traditional blocker to construction has been the bespoke nature of the projects that we undertake. Now, because of the size, scale, and duration of the TBM program, these robots have been able to be deployed on HS2, marking a significant improvement in the program. In fact, the robots have increased the accuracy, speed, and safety, and are one of the major contributing factors why the aligned TBMs are currently ahead of program. Now, with 7 more of these TBMs due for SES in 20, this is an innovation that will continue to develop benefits for HS2 as well as the wider construction industry. So if we talk briefly about carbon, now, like all construction projects, we have some significant and very tough targets on carbon. And I thought it'd be worthwhile just giving you 1 or 2 areas that HS2 are working on. But again, our website is a great source of information, and I would encourage anybody that has an innovative solution or idea to please get in contact with us at the end of this event. I will confirm our email address for that at the end, and I'll also ask Sarah if she can post it within the chat. Okay, so in terms of how we're reducing carbon, so all of the trains, once they enter service, the electricity that they use will be 100% renewable. The 4 main workstream ventures that I spoke about earlier on, 100% of their energy for their site compounds, the main compounds, not the satellite compounds, is from renewable energy. Both of those make a significant reduction in the carbon that the project embeds. We've tried excavators with biofuels. We've tried electric excavators and plants and hybrid models to find the most appropriate way to change the diesel vehicles on site. And my personal favourite is the fact that SCS begin their trial printing of 3D concrete structures next year. Now, this is a massive leap forward in construction technology, and the reduction from vehicle movements of delivering precast segments and other materials to site by having them built and printed on site is significant. So I'm looking forward to seeing that further widespread throughout the programme. And as I said, those are just some examples of how we're reducing carbon. And please get in contact with us if you have something to talk to HS2 or something that we could put you in touch with one of our contractors on. So finally, before the Q&A, we have a huge range of guidance and support in place for SMEs to help you get match fit and navigate the procurement processes. What we want to do is maximise your chance of success. So please take time to understand HS2's vision, the values, and our strategic goals. Make sure you have the right policies in place. So health and safety, equality, diversity, inclusion, quality, environmental policies, etc. All these things you will need both for the tender process and compete for. Build your network. Attending events like today is a great way to do that. Build relationships with your peers. Reach out to our contractors because we publish their contract details on our supplier contract opportunities table. And we also have our supply chain maps, which shows who is in our supply chain and where they're based. Interrogate the opportunity and take time to really understand the specific requirements and whether it's the right strategic fit for your business. A sniper approach rather than a scattergun approach will save you time and money and increase your chances of securing business. And understand the process. Are you crystal clear on the procurement process, evaluation, deadlines, etc.? So a final message from me is please view the collateral on our website under the supply chain section. This includes the Contracts Opportunities Finder, the supplier guides, frequently asked questions, maps and case studies. Register for Compete For and ensure that your profile is published and you have set up to receive tailored reports. Use resources like the Supply Chain Sustainability School It's something I've long been associated with and HS2 have been long members of, and it provides a great deal of free self-assessment, e-learning, and a wide range of collateral and support, as well as the ability to network with other SMEs. Work with other local business organisations, the FSB, the RAA, SECA, and contact us directly using the email scc@hs2.org.uk. So thank you very much for taking the time to listen to us this morning. I'll now hand back to Shona for the Q&A session.
Well, thanks so much, all three of you. That was really interesting, and I hope gave lots of useful information to everybody listening. This is a section where we're really just looking for you to post your questions, ask anything you want to know. Now's the time. We've got one question here from John Campbell. This one's for you, Craig. John would be interested to know how Zappshelter engaged with the HS2 opportunity, and if you had previous experience of rail before, or was it a new sector for you?
Thanks, Shona. Thank you, John. No, absolutely no previous history in rail. We followed the HS2 program for many years, as most have done on this meet today. The project, to me, it seemed massive. It seemed like there was no chance of getting involved. But what we found was that networking with the main contractors and with the subcontractors, tier 2 contractors, we found them very receptive. What I failed to understand initially was that they're not going to come and find us. These contractors are massive. They do need the input of products and services of SMEs, but they don't actually know where to find us. So it's important that you reach out to them. There's all sorts of platforms for doing that. I have found personally that LinkedIn is extremely powerful. Even sending an email, following up with a phone call, just gently breaking into it without making a nuisance of yourself. And people actually engage within these big tier 1 and tier 2 companies, actually engage with SMEs once they realise you've got some real value to offer.
Brilliant, thank you. I don't have any other questions on the chat facility, so if you're thinking of posting something, please do. And if you want to put your camera on and engage directly, it's no problem at all. I've got a couple of questions, if that's okay. So my first question is, with my Women in Rail hat on, I suppose, I guess, I'm just wondering if what HS2 is doing to encourage underrepresented groups to be employed on the project. So, for example, women or young people or whatever the underrepresented groups are. I just wondered if you have activities or a policy that you have in place that targets that. I think that'd be to Robin and Antony, probably.
Yeah,
or
Robin.
Yeah, certainly, Shona. A huge amount in a nutshell. Clearly, we have a massive skills challenge as an industry. There's a big skills gap. There's an aging workforce. I think the estimates suggest the UK needs something like 203,000 people with engineering skills at level 3 and above each year until the mid-2020s to meet demand. We've got a shortfall of 20,000 graduates per year in our sector, and so we have to ask the question, why aren't people attracted to come and want to work in the infrastructure sector? And one of the solutions, as we see it, is around equality, diversity, inclusion. Because if you're only recruiting from a narrow pool of people, you're not going to access the talent that's at your disposal. And there has been a historic image and perception problem about our industry. And so, we as HS2 have a duty, I would argue, to change that and to smash some of those glass ceilings that we see in the sector. And when you look at the roles that are available on HS2, you really come to realize it's not just about engineering construction. It's so wide ranging. In fact, 50% of our roles won't be on a site, they'll be in an office. We've got newer disciplines around data science, building information modeling, computer-based design. And there's a whole growth in visualization tools and varying design technologies now that are moving us away from conventional site-based skills to a much more IT-based approach. So it's hugely important. And in EDI, as I say, we're deeply passionate about the power of EDI to spread opportunities to all corners of society and build a better and more productive rail sector, ultimately, which better serves the needs of our diverse society, which is what it's there to do. So EDI for us is split into 4 main areas. So firstly, it's the organization. So this is about our people, systems and policies. for the HS2 workforce and our own HR activities. As a company, women represent 36% of our core staff. I think the industry average is just over 20, and about 20% identify as Black, Asian, or minority ethnic. So we're not doing too badly in terms of our diversity statistics, and we're keen to work with the supply chain to make that wide ranging as well. And how we do that is through procurement levers. So tendering, contract management activities, we use them very much to drive positive outcomes. You know, we assess the contractor's ability to deliver on EDI and engage right through the supply chain. Communities is key as well, caring for our communities along the line of route impacted by work. And then the fourth area is around design and operation. So how do we design the railway for the health, well-being, ease of use and accessibility of everyone in society, and not just the able-bodied, not just the travel literate. So, you know, EDI for us is also about how we design the railway around the diverse needs of people. And every employee at HS2 has an EDI objective written into their performance reviews. So it's something we take really seriously. Our executive and board very much drive it as well. And we expect and want the supply chain to help us deliver that. And I think from their perspective, I think it's about, yes, having policies in place. There's some prerequisites that you need to have. I mean, it's not onerous. An EDI policy could be a single page. But I guess what we're more interested in is what that policy has enabled you to achieve. You know, have you shifted the dial in terms of the diversity of your workforce? Are you monitoring that? Have you introduced a flexible working policy that's enabled more working mums to come back into your workplace, for instance? So it's those sorts of things, those practical interventions, and they may be small and you may already be doing them actually in many ways. It's just about documenting that and making sure that you're promoting that as part of tender exercises as well, so we can really see that it matters to you as well.
Brilliant. So the short answer is you're doing keeps.
We like to think so. We like to think so, yes. But there's always more.
Yeah. I've got quite a few questions going through now. I don't know whether people want to ask them. If you want to put your camera on, I think the next one's John Lawrence. I don't know if you want to put your camera on and ask directly, or I can do it for you. Doesn't matter either way. Oh, here we go. Brilliant. Hi, John.
Try my best. Hopefully we got a connection. What we're looking for is, I've obviously, I've got a decent bit of experience on rail, and I support people coming into rail. But in this instance, we're interested in being able to talk to the subject matter experts at HS2 prior to engaging with the supply chain. So in this instance, it's about just an exploratory chat to make sure that we've got a service to offer, where the service would split, because it's potentially splits between the M&E contract and the CCS contract. So there's a potential for that to overlap. But moreover, it's just about the sort of the strategy for monitoring, the strategy for intervention, the strategy for maintenance moving forward. So if we get somebody to talk to that sort of owns the technical piece, that would be great. Casey, are we able to do that?
Yeah, John, happy to pick that up if you email us at the SEC@hs2.org.uk mailbox, and we'll pick it up. I mean, we do have an infrastructure monitoring maintenance strategy in place and an asset management team that are looking at that. I'm sure we'll be able to disclose elements of that if we can. And then I guess it would be a task of getting in touch with those CCS and M&E bidders. There's 2 for M&E, there's 4 for CCS. And just seeing if there's a potential opportunity there to support as part of their bid. And then once those contracts have been awarded in early 2023, you'll then know who you're dealing with in terms of the specific contractor for both M&E and CCS, and we can help broker that in the background if needs be.
Yeah, great stuff. Thanks.
Thanks, John. I've got a question here from Claire Judd. Claire, would you like to ask your question, or I can do it for you?
Hi, Shona. Thank you very much. Robin, it's just a quick question for yourself, actually, as to what technology you would be looking to have on the trains. Is that available to be shared at the moment?
The rolling stock technical specifications on our website.
Okay.
So that's been published since we launched the ITT a couple of years ago now. So you can have a look at that. Technology in the sense of what exactly specifically?
From a sort of looking to get where you're sort of decarbonate, sorry, not decarbonate, look at energizing and low emissions and things like that, looking to see how you're looking to run that and manage that on the rolling stock.
Yep. Okay. I mean, the way that the procurement's been structured is driven the manufacturers to innovate around energy efficiency. So obviously in contract they'll need to deliver against that, and yeah, there may be supply chain opportunities in how they go about doing that. Regenerative braking, I'm sure there'll be a whole host of innovations that are taken forward with that appointed manufacturer. And then I guess it's the monitoring, isn't it? Which maybe is both infrastructure based and train based monitoring. In terms of the interaction with the power assets and making sure everything's working efficiently, but that may be one to pick up once we know who the manufacturer is, and we can then and we can explore that with the wider supply chain. It'd be great as well, Shona, to have your support with that into early next year. Once we've got the manufacturer on board, it's all been announced and sorted, we can then start a process of engagement once they've mobilized, of course. Let's give them a few months to mobilize, but into next year, start to have that conversation with the wider supply chain.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Thanks, Claire. I think we've still got time for a couple more. Paul Forsyth, would you like to ask your question, or shall I do it for you? Hi, Paul.
Hi, guys. Hopefully the line's okay. I was just keen to learn. I mean, we looked at diversifying into the rail sector a few years back. We've traditionally been an oil and gas company, and we were just kind of keen to know what the sort of main material types are for the railway lines and the slab tracks that you guys mentioned. I think when we spoke with Progress Rail before, there was a lot of sort of bespoke material, manganese maybe was mentioned. It was just really for some information.
I mean, it might be worth having a look at their technical specifications for track, again on our website. So if you go on the supply chain page of our website, scroll down, you'll see a link called Technical Documents. You'll see a drop down called Railway Systems. If you click that, you'll be able to see the technical specifications for the track packages. So worth having a look at that, I think, in the first instance. To my knowledge, it's reinforced concrete in the main, but I don't know the specifics of materials, etc., that will be utilised in addition to that. So probably worth having a look at those, Paul, and then maybe get in touch with the bidders themselves to understand a bit more detail.
And then just very quickly, just before I go, see on your website, you're saying the rolling stock contracts obviously still to be awarded. Does your website say which companies have already put bids in?
Yes, yeah. So it's on the contracts table. The 5 bidders that we had are on there. So
perfect. Thank you. Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks, Sean.
Thanks,
no
Paul.
problem. But that should be announced in the next couple of weeks, so not long to wait.
Great. And finally, we've got a question here from Martin Stanley. Are you there, Martin, or would you like me to ask?
Hi, yes, thank you, Shona. Yes, quick question, pretty much what it says there. We're a veg management consultancy, primarily with the resilience towards critical infrastructure. But we are working with a technology that we're looking for project partners, whereby we utilise the vegetation waste from pruning back from either rail or power lines, and we feed it through a process that can convert this to hydrogen or CO2. So we're all about the environment and getting to net zero. So we just wondered what's the best approach to take engaging with HS2 for this sort of a project.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly sounds of interest, for sure. I think potentially, if you supply some information into us, Martin, I certainly share that with our internal teams as appropriate, and then it's probably an action to speak to the main works civils contractors, Anthony, perhaps, who are probably doing the bulk of the vegetation management along the route. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think as Robin said, Martin, if you drop us your details to the scc at hs2.org email address, I'll make sure that goes to the relevant ecological leads on the main works, because it's certainly something, if you're looking for a pilot or a trial, it's them that would kind of undertake that. But we can certainly signpost you to the individuals to have that conversation with. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you for your assistance. That's great.
No problem.
Thank you. And I think that leads us nicely to just 1:01. So if there's any other questions that I've missed, I'm really sorry. I don't think I have. If we have them, we'll certainly answer them individually or try to. I just want to conclude and say a huge big thank you to Robin and Anthony and Craig. And I hope that you have a good rest of your day today. And thank you so much for joining us. I don't know if we'll be online again before Christmas. So I guess, I can't believe I'm saying it already, but I hope you have a good break over the festive period, and we look forward to seeing you in the new year. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks all.